Man, guys, it's your boy Zoburner here. Just got off a 12-hour Discord shift with Blaze and Bailey. I'm pooped. About to eat some dinner. Real quickly, though, I do want to say I got a little episode for you guys of the ZB Pod. Episode number 2. Special guest. Got some amazing topics. Hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you so much for the positive feedback on episode 1. And if you haven't, man, make sure to subscribe, bro. It's free to do. Just hit the subscribe button and I'll see you. Enjoy the episode. Alright guys, what is going on? We are back with episode 2 of the ZV Pod, and I'm here today with a very special guest, my dad, so I'm going to let him introduce himself, and yeah.
So Zoe, thanks for having me here. My name is Alok. I'm Zoe or Neil's dad. I thought I'll give you guys a brief introduction of myself. So I have a technical background and an MBA from Texas A&M. That makes me an Aggie. For those who live in Texas will relate to that.
Gig 'em.
Proud Aggie. As far as my work goes, I've been in consulting and in software. That's where I've spent most of my work life. I'm a big sports buff. I love to watch sports, NBA, football, cricket, tennis. I also like to play sports. Right now I'm playing golf and tennis.
Yep.
And I used to be an avid reader in my younger days, and love traveling. Something I want people to know: my two favorite players at this time are Rafa Nadal in tennis and Steph Curry in basketball. And was used to be a big fan of the '90s Cowboys with Troy Aikman. So that's a quick 30-second on myself.
Wow, that was an amazing intro. Okay, so that is awesome. And yeah, so a lot of the stuff that you do and that you like talking about, or your work, we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be covering the NBA, some other sports. We're going to get into esports a little bit, and then AI as well. So it's going to be a really fun segment. Hope you guys enjoy it. And let's go ahead and get right into it. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start off with the NBA. I would say that is both of our favorite sports. I love basketball. I love playing basketball. And even though I didn't really start playing that much until after high school, I've always been watching, always been a fan of for years. So we're going to go through some questions. Let's go back and forth on these. If you have any for me, feel free to ask them. But let me go ahead and start off with currently, who is the best player in the NBA, in your opinion?
Not only in mine, but most people feel that Nikola Jokic is the best player in the NBA today and for the last couple of years.
The Serbian monster. Okay, so I would agree with that. I didn't always see his game, but I didn't really get to watch the Nuggets that much either. They're not the most exciting team to watch for me, or at least the most talked about, right? Until this year when they won the NBA Finals. But what about his game, in your opinion, separates him? In your eyes, why do you agree with what people say?
And Zoe, I mean, you know more about basketball than me, but right? You've played the game more. But
Sure.
from what I've seen and read a little bit, he's a complete player. He's dominant. His size is big. He's got the 3-pointer. He has a reasonable defense.
Yeah.
And he can pass the ball. I think his greatest quality is his vision, right? Almost 360 degrees. So when you bring it all together, he's almost an unstoppable force.
Yeah, I agree.
What do you think? I mean, do you see any weaknesses in his game?
I'd say the only weakness is maybe defense, but what's impressive about him is that, so obviously you saw more of the game when it was like big centers, right? Like Shaq dominating, and before that you had whoever else. So Jokic, he's big, but he's not dunking the ball or posterizing guys. He's touch, right? Little hook shot, dribble, footwork. So it's like the game, the fundamentals, that's really what separates him from me. And like you said, the IQ, because even if they decide to double him or they decide to focus their game plan on stopping Jokic, then he gets Bruce Brown involved, he gets Jamal Murray involved, he gets Michael Porter Jr. involved. So and that's what you saw, right, happen throughout the playoffs. They were trying to find different ways to stop him, but if you stop his scoring, you can't stop passing too. You can't, there's so many different aspects to his game. So yeah, I agree.
If I can just add one point on
Yeah.
Jokic too, is also I really like his humility. Unlike other superstars, he's never bragging or talking about himself. So I think that also makes him a little special in my mind.
That is true, but I would say this though: he might be humble to a fault in the sense that like this guy doesn't even have social media. When he won the championship, he didn't even want to celebrate with the trophy. Yeah, I guess to each his own, right? From like a marketing standpoint, you're just like, come on, man! Like you at least say something, at least put a fist bump up, or it's like a Tim Duncan kind of vibe. But no, you can't take away from his game though. Amazing player. But yeah, so we agree on Jokic is the current best player. Now let me ask you a little bit of a harder one. I want to say I think we'd have the same opinion, but I could be wrong. Who is the greatest player of all time? We're going back to the days of Wilt Chamberlain to now, present day. Who is your GOAT, and tell us why?
It's always difficult to compare players across eras, right? But I think we can, over the last at least 20 years, I think it can be a fair comparison. So with that in mind, I'm just going back about 25, 30 years, not before that. I think Michael Jordan is the GOAT. Who's the GOAT in your opinion?
Yeah, I agree, Michael Jordan. And it's
And I saw him in his prime. I mean, I
yeah,
saw
which
him
I
live in
didn't
his
get
prime.
to. Sadly, I didn't get to. I've only seen YouTube. I've seen whatever, The Last Dance. I've seen documentaries. I've seen highlights, but I couldn't actually live to see him play. You saw him play live, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you moved here to the U.S. was kind of when he was taking off, right? So you kind of got to see his rise to the top, literally to the top of the sport,
Yes.
top of the entire
Yep.
sports world, not just NBA, sports world, right? He changed the game too. He brought so much publicity to the NBA. He made it global. So, but I'm not even talking about impact. That's a whole other conversation. I'm just talking about pure, yeah, like you said, pure skill, the best player, best peak, accolades, championships, everything. It's
Six
got
out
to
of
be Michael
six.
Jordan. Yeah,
Six
six
out
out
of
of six.
six.
Never went to a game seven in the finals, five
True.
MVPs. You know, I know that a lot of
Scoring
people,
champion, scoring titles, all of
10 of
that.
them, 10 of them, right? Yeah.
Oh,
I know,
wow.
I know a lot of people they say that, well, um, LeBron should be in here, and a lot of longevity awards, things like that. To me, I think LeBron's a great player. He's in my top 10, maybe my top five on a good day. But Michael Jordan just is like, it's on another level. Like it's like there's certain players, your Gretzky's, your Brady's, your Jordans, that they're on a different level. There can still be other great players, but like Larry Bird said, they have a god over there in Chicago, and his name's Michael Jordan. So
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more.
yeah, so far we're two for two. We got okay, interesting. Jokic and Jordan. All right, so I'm gonna do we'll do two of these back to back. So, who is your most underrated player in the NBA currently, and who is the next breakout star that you see coming up potentially? Rookie, 2 years, maybe a couple years in, but you see his strides he's making in his game. I have two in my mind, but who do you think? Your opinion?
You want to go first this time?
Yeah, that's fine. I don't mind. So I'll go ahead and start with the most underrated player in the NBA. And I don't know if you're familiar with him. I think you are. I mean, you've seen a good amount of playoff basketball. He's been in there the last couple of years. Derek White for the Celtics.
Yep.
Yeah, he was actually used to play in San Antonio. So we went to a game, if you remember, a couple of years ago, and I think at the time he was actually on the Spurs roster. We got to see him play against Giannis and the Bucks. 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember.
So Derek White, he
Interesting. Uh-huh.
so the reason I say Derek White is because he's been in the league for a little bit now, but he's always had to play like a certain role. So with the Celtics, like you have like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown who need the ball in their hands. You have Marcus Smart wanting to jack up threes. He's traded now, but the past couple of years it's kind of been a situation. So Derek White is only touching the ball X amount of times, and but with those possessions, he does so much, and he's such a smart player defensively too. I remember watching this year's playoffs, and he was just making clutch plays, that extra hustle play, and I don't know. I love watching Derek White, and I think that he could have a much bigger role. Although he has a perfect fit on the Celtics with what they're trying to do. That's why they're every year they're like one of the top teams, at the end. So who would you say most underrated player in your eyes
Yeah.
right now?
Well, your choice was interesting. I mean, I would not have thought of Derek White. uh, for me, the most underrated player is Steph Curry.
Okay.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
how can it
And
be?
I don't know if yeah, I don't know if you're aware, but he's just brought out a some kind of a documentary also, which is the same thing, underrated,
I
right?
didn't
No,
watch it.
the
No, I didn't get a
Yeah, I
chance.
haven't watched it. Yeah, but the reason I say is because Steph Curry has changed the game. He has changed the game to a three-pointer where today Jokic is also hitting threes. Every kid is trying to hit threes. Every player in the NBA is hitting threes. Even LeBron James has become a much better
Every
three-point
player at
shooter.
any gym is trying to hit threes now. By the way, let me
Right.
add that. If I go play basketball, everyone's shooting threes now. No matter if you're 7'6" or 3'5", it doesn't matter.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think even Michael Jordan changed the game to that in that to that extent. This guy has changed the angles, the dimensions of the court, but yet there are people saying he's been bad to the game, and and they don't really appreciate. I feel his selfless play, his leadership quality. I mean, this guy is a real leader, and he has never changed a team. He doesn't chase the championships, and I think he's a leader and a player who has changed the game. and he deserves more. He deserves a place on Mount Rushmore, period. And people don't give that to him. So that's my my case for him being the most underrated player. Even today,
Okay.
despite the accolades he's got, I
Okay.
think he's still underrated.
Okay. So he has what, 4 chips, two
Yeah.
MVPs, one unanimous, right? First ever unanimous. I just don't see how. To me, I don't see how a player could be underrated with all those accolades, and he does have a good amount of, you know, um, respect from his peers. I think, but I guess I could
A
see. I
good
see what you're
amount is not
saying.
enough. I'm saying
Okay.
he's right there with Michael Jordan.
Okay, I
The
see.
respect he gets is
Yeah, it's
not
not
enough. And
right.
that's why he's underrated. It's all relative.
Interesting take. I don't know. We'll see what people think about that. It's interesting. Steph Curry underrated. I mean, yeah. I will say this: he's been underrated his whole life, and he's able to prove a lot of people wrong. So props to Steph Curry.
Right.
Even for me as one of a smaller player, and I'm going up against guys at my local rec that are, let's say, 6'4", 6'5". Definitely the Steph Currys and Trae Youngs have given me the confidence to be like, okay, I don't need to be scared if they're taller than me. I can get my shot off, or I can hit with the floater, or whatever, a crossover. So I look up to Steph. I love him. So fair enough. I
But
had Derek White.
before
Yeah,
we end on this, do you believe he's underrated today or no? Today.
like it depends. It depends on the context you're using, right? Like you said, for you, you're comparing him to Michael Jordan. I don't think he's at that level. So I guess in my eyes, he's right where he needs to be. He's
Okay.
considered one of the best point guards of all time, right? It's usually the debate is either him or Magic Johnson. Sometimes people will throw in Isaiah Thomas or whatever, but for the most part, it's either him or Magic. I think that's fair because Magic was a
Okay.
dog himself. But okay, and so breakout star. Do you want to take this or do you want me to
You
run it?
start first. You go first.
Okay. So my breakout star that I see, and I don't know if you know what this is because he's not on the best team, their upcoming team, but it's Josh Giddey for the OKC Thunder. Are you familiar with his game much or not too
No,
much?
I
Okay,
just heard his name.
right. So he's 6'8". He's a guard, 20 years old. He averaged 16, like 8 and 6 this past year for OKC. He plays with Alexander and all them
Oh,
boys there. They have a
he's
nice young
pretty
team,
good.
right? They have draft picks for years. They have a great GM and everything like that. So I think he is coming up. You watch his game, like I said, 6'8", right? He's playing like he can rebound well for a guard at that height. He can pass, play make. He reminds me of basically like a taller, healthy Lonzo Ball, who we'll talk about later in this podcast. But yeah, so Josh Giddey, he can score the ball, soft touch at the rim. His shooting's only getting better, good shooting splits. I think this might be a bold take, but in 5 years, I think Josh Giddey is like a household name. At that he's going to be 25 in five
Wow.
years. I think you're gonna hear a lot about Josh Giddey, especially considering the way the Thunder are going. They're gonna be able to hopefully re-sign that young core. They're all gonna be entering their peak at the same time. So it's gonna remind you of, as you know, the Warriors 2013, 2014 as they started climbing up.
Oh, yeah.
Draymond, Clay, and Steph are hitting their peak at the same time, right? And it's perfect. You have the role players come in, Iggy, you have your Andrew Wiggins, whatever, and then you really build a contender. I think that's the Thunder next up, 100%.
Okay. All right. So in my mind, the player who's going to break out is, and it's a very non-obvious choice. I have done a lot of research to identify this player. Is Victor Wembanyama. He is going to be a breakout star in this league.
How are you gonna pick the most the biggest prospect in 20 years, man? I mean, come
Well,
on.
that's it. I
So
rest my case.
that's your okay. That's your breakout player.
Yeah. Even
Interesting.
before he's played.
Interesting. I mean, he's played summer league, so I don't know
Yeah.
if 2 games.
His second game was pretty darn good.
Yeah, second game was good. Yeah, I mean that's a very safe pick, man. I thought you'd go a little bit bolder than that, but just Victor, you're playing your card safe tonight. Okay.
Wemby.
Yeah, no big bets today. Okay, yeah. Wemby's gonna be solid. Obviously, living in San Antonio myself, I can't wait to watch him play. He's really saved us and I say us. I'm not the biggest Spurs fan, but whatever. I'm live here last 5-6 years of my life.
Well,
So
you used to be a fan. You like Duncan
yeah,
and those.
I did.
Those guys.
The Duncan, Ginobili,
and,
Parker.
all those guys.
Yep, Tony Parker. Of course. Who didn't? It's like the best style of basketball in my opinion that I've ever seen in my life since I've been alive. So I think Victor is gonna be awesome to watch. It's gonna be awesome to see San Antonio hopefully be good again. But talk about luck, right? Talk about luck because obviously you're playing a little safe. Let's just say lucky. Imagine getting before Tim Duncan. What's his name? Robinson. It was Duncan and Robinson. David Robinson. Thank you. You get David Robinson. You get Duncan,
The
and then
Admiral. Yep.
20 years later, you get Victor Wembanyama. So and Popovich has been there for all three. So it's crazy to me these these center prospects that are supposed to be once in a generation just keep going to San Antonio.
Right.
Because you know the lottery, right? I mean, I think they had like a 14 to 17% chance to hit Victor this year. So the Portland was there too. You had Charlotte just as high of a chance to hit him with the first overall pick. And what they do is they spin the lottery balls. You pick out a ball, and San Antonio has just been lucky to be in the right spot at the right time for continuously for over 2 decades. You know, pretty.
No, you're right. But a life lesson, right? Luck is a very important part. People don't talk about it, but it is there. So.
Most definitely, yeah. Sometimes you need. Sometimes it doesn't matter how much talent or skill or whatever the case. You just have to be in the right situation, which I think is going to be perfect for Victor. He's going to play the next 4 or 5 years under Pop, who's obviously just signed an extension, but probably going to retire in the next upcoming years. Right? He's getting a little bit older. But that's going to be. I mean, what else? What other better situation could you ask for? Also, Tim Duncan and Tony Parker have come out and said they're going to help mentor him as well, so that they're in the San Antonio area. So it's a perfect fit. He's been set up for success. Now we'll see if he can deliver, hopefully.
Yep.
Okay, and let me see. For NBA, I think the last question that I wanted to discuss was, we kind of touched on this, but I guess I'll ask you, because you brought up the Steph Curry effect, but how do you feel that the NBA has changed in the past 10 to 20 years? You brought up Steph Curry. Like, what else have you seen that's changed? Because you've been around for both. Obviously, I was very young when the different eras were shaping. But how do you feel with this new era?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of things. One, there is the whole culture of the NBA, right? Remember when Michael Jordan was playing, there was no social media, right? And so you didn't get to know a lot about the players that you get to know today, right? So one has to kind of also take that into account because the users didn't have access, right?
Right.
But I think from a game wise, the major change is that that was a more physical game, right? And people would pound, and the 3-pointers. Larry Bird brought the 3-pointer to the game, but it was still not that popular. So I think it was more of a grinding game, and you had to be more physical. And today the game is more fluid, right? There's more offense oriented. It was more defense oriented. So I think at a high level, I see those changes. Just a faster game, and I think the crowds want more points, so the NBA is tweaking it so that it's a high scoring game.
Right.
That's what I see. What What is your observation?
I mean, I agree with mostly of the things that you said. I would say that the league is more skilled now, right? On the average NBA player. I mean, I think in any sport, right? The average player is more skilled because skill academies and nutrition and whatever the case. The average athlete is better, right?
They're playing longer.
Yeah, human evolution, whatever. That's just a fact. In 50 years, it's going to be the same thing. So, but I would say like I would have loved to, I guess, maybe been around during that era just to see. I mean, you only can watch so much off of YouTube videos, even if you watch full games. But just kind of being around, not even just watching the games, but like you said, like there was no social media, so I would have wanted to know like what it was like on a Monday morning. How were players reacted to when they had a bad game? Because nowadays, if you have a bad game, you're on TikTok, you're on Twitter, you're on Instagram. I think it's a lot more scrutinized now for athletes.
Right.
Maybe that leads to more pressure. I'm not really sure. At the same time, there's a lot more fans, a lot more money involved. So it's interesting. But since I was only around, mainly started watching probably like around Kobe's like reign, like 2009, 2010, when I really started watching basketball. From what I remember from then was, the 3-pointers weren't there. You had your 3-point shooters, right? You had your Ray Allens, you had your set shooters, but Steve Kerr. Yeah, that was a little bit too old for me. Like I was a little bit past that, right? But like I still like saw like Reggie Miller. I wasn't around for that either. But now it's like anybody is shooting threes. Like if you're not shooting threes, you might not have a roster spot. There's very few people that can get away with not shooting threes unless you have that specific role.
You're coming back to Steph Curry's greatness. Change the game.
Yeah, Steph did his thing. I think it was a lot of different people. They're like, I think what Harden did at Houston shouldn't go unnoticed, right? With what he was doing with isolation scoring, everything like that. There's a lot of different components. But yeah, so we both agree basically the game has. Would you say changed for the better or for the worse though? That's the real question.
That's an interesting point you bring up because the other thing you notice is in the old days, right? And this is true not just for this. Even in tennis, you see, if you look at John McEnroe, Jimmy Connors, they were not friends. But in today's world, where there's Rafa, Djokovic, everybody's more polite. And if you look at the bad boys, the Pistons, and Michael Jordan, and they were not friends, and they were not
Yeah.
afraid to show that they are
Soft.
enemies. But in
Soft.
today's game, LeBron is applauding Steph something on social media. It's a soft, so it's a very different mindset also, and I think that impacts the
Super
game too.
teams. We didn't even touch on that. Super team, the
Right,
super team
super
era,
team.
man. Just I hate. I don't like that at all. You see it in multiple
Exactly.
sports now. I'm not even gonna just
Yeah.
hold LeBron on it, but you
Actually,
just see
that's the
it.
big change you bring up. Super team. That whole notion, people
Yeah.
would not even entertain that in those days.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I hate to see super teams. That's actually a great point because you would go back then, and I remember watching on YouTube, and you'd have like your star player, your Iverson, he's leading a team. You have Charles Barkley, he's leading a team, right? It was almost like you have that one star,
Karl
maybe
Malone.
two. Yeah, Karl Malone, John Stockton, so maybe two on a team, right? You have your Jordan, you have your Pippen, your Rodman, but it was two or three players that were, usually one great one, two, three good to, kind of great,
Right.
and then you'd have your role players, and it was just a battle because you never knew who's going to win. And I would say this: the NBA has kind of come back to that now, right? Like this year, I didn't know who was going to
Yeah,
win.
this
We
year.
had our favorites, but yeah, we had the Miami Heat era, then we had the Warriors era, just dominance all around, and so it's nice to see some parity in the league again, and actually having to wonder who's going to win, right? Not just already know, okay, LeBron versus Warriors in the finals 5 years
Although
in a
I
row.
go back to differ with you, I don't think the Heat had an era. Didn't they just win two titles? That don't make an era.
Well,
Sorry.
well, they went to the finals
That
four
doesn't
years
matter.
in a
You got to
row.
win it all. You got to win it all.
4 years in
To
a row
be,
is it's pretty impressive. And
Jordan did it three in a row. 4 years in a
yeah,
row?
they went to the
Fine.
finals 4 years. Four. They didn't
Yeah,
win, but they went
but they
four
won.
years. Yeah, so they went Mavs, Thunder. They won. Then they went Spurs. They won. Lost 2014.
Wow, you do know your history now.
Yeah, I mean, I was so sad during the 2013 loss. I don't know if you remember. That's the classic. Back out to Allen, bang for
Oh, the
three.
three-pointer.
They lose that game six, lose the game seven. The Spurs lost the series, but yeah. So okay, now transitioning from the NBA, I'm gonna ask you a couple more sports questions before we go into esports. So
Mhm.
I got two for you. Okay, I'm gonna ask two for you. So the first one, we're gonna transition to the NFL, the National
Ooh,
Football Association, right? So most people know that I am a huge diehard Tom Brady fan. Living in Houston, Texas, I've been supporting Tom Brady since I was probably 6 or 7 years old. I grew up watching him. He's one of my favorite
we went
athletes.
to Gillette Field to
We've
watch him.
been to July 2011. Yeah, I remember that. And we were in the very front row right where the football stand is. You remember? So
Yeah, yeah.
great game.
On a cold day.
Cold, very cold. We weren't from Texas. Then you go to Boston in November. It's a very different feeling. One that I wouldn't probably do again. But what I wanted to bring up was, as you know, Tom Brady. He retired for good this year. Second retirement, but I don't think he's coming back. He's pretty settled. He's doing his own thing, but he spent over 20 years in the league, and that's more than you could ever ask for from your favorite athlete. So, how do you feel on the state of the NFL after Tom Brady? What do you think is going to happen?
First of all, let me say that Brady is the GOAT in my mind, okay? We used to think it was Montana, Brady is the GOAT.
Hmm.
But I think, and this is true for life and for any sport, right? Nobody is indispensable. And the game is always greater than any one player.
Yeah.
So, yes, today, yeah, we all miss Brady. But I think the league will be in good hands with Patrick Mahomes, and there will be other players maybe as good as Brady down the road because the game always evolves. So in my opinion, it's in good hands and the future looks bright. But you could probably have a different take on it. I would love to hear your kind of assessment.
I mean, not necessarily. I would want the league to just stop and halt and riot until Tom Brady comes back. But I mean, I kind of see what you're saying. Like I remember watching like very old like reporter videos of people saying like what's gonna happen when Michael Jordan retires, right? And things like that. But like you see what the league's doing now, things are gonna happen. And also you have talent in the league still. Like you have Patrick Mahomes, you have your Justin Herberts, you have your Lamar Jacksons. So you have like, you know, you have these amazing young talents that are going to carry the league for years to come, and then more people are going to come. And so, yeah, I think the only thing that we might miss, I felt like Tom Brady, and obviously he's like the oldest player in the league and whatever. I felt like he kind of had like the old eras on his back. He was like the last standing soldier, a part of that different culture. When you thought of Tom Brady, you didn't only think about Tom Brady, but you thought about his matchups against Peyton Manning back in the day and Drew Brees, and he kind of carried that whole
Belichick.
Belichick and everything like that. So yeah, I'm gonna miss him, but I got to watch him for 20 years, and quarterbacks on average are the great ones are not even playing maybe half of that. You have a 10 to 12 peak, and that's really what it is. And usually you're either out the league or you're a backup, or you're coaching or broadcasting or whatever. So the fact that he played that long and he was able to dominate that long, 7 Super Bowl rings, is crazy. I don't think we'll ever see it again.
And I think it's. I was just going to say that same
Yeah.
thing. It's safe to say that you know, quarterbacks will come and go, but there will never be another Brady. So I think
Right. Right.
I think that's a good place to stop at on this note.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so last sports question though. That I have is it's for both of us. Okay. What is an athlete that in any sport you thought would be great, right? Like you obviously started watching them at a young age and whatever, and they just ended up not panning out. It could be current, it could be someone in the past that you saw. Any sport. We're going any sport here.
You go first.
Are you sure you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so I hate to say this, but if I had to pick one athlete that just didn't work out the way I thought they would be Lonzo Ball. So it sucks. I'm not writing Lonzo off yet, but I also have to be realistic and realize that he's had 3 surgeries in the past year on his knee, on his left knee, and there's been no results. So Lonzo Ball, I mean, my name is Zoe Burner for a reason.
Yeah.
It's after Lonzo Ball. In my opinion, the biggest Lonzo Ball fan, and I know I was just glazing Tom Brady, but Lonzo Ball got me into basketball. Coming out of high school, I started watching him on Ball is Life, and I was like, wait, this guy's cool, and I started playing more and everything like that. So, I think I actually wore my Lonzo Ball jersey to the ZB Pod episode 1. Now that I think about it, so yeah, it just sucks. Amazing talent. I think if he was healthy, he definitely would have been my most underrated NBA player. He was finally getting in his groove. He finally found a good fit with Chicago. He had a shot going almost 40% from 3. And you saw what he did. I mean, I know you're not the biggest Lonzo Ball fan. Not a lot of people are. I've got a lot of slack and whatever crap for supporting Lonzo because people don't believe in him and make fun of the way he shoots or whatever the case, right? His dad. But he was actually, in my opinion, really coming along in his role, and he was looking really good. So it just sucks to see that at 25, 26 years old, you're not able to do what you love. Because, yeah, he has the money now and he has the fame, but I'm sure he just wants to play basketball because to get to that level, most of the time, you have to have a passion. You have to be willing to put in the work, right? So that's years upon years of just sacrifice. And then for that to be taken away from you for something you can't control. One day he just woke up, he was having pain. The next week he can't bend his knee walking up the stairs. And here we are a year and a half later and there's no update on him. It sucks, man. It sucks to see that.
Right. Man, I know you were a big fan of him, so
Still am.
you're probably very disappointed. Right,
Yeah.
right, I know. So in terms of player who didn't really become as great as I thought he would, again, it's probably not a very obvious choice. It's Kawhi Leonard.
Okay.
Because at one point, there was talk of him being the best two-way player, better than LeBron James when he won his ring, right?
Right.
And then, he fell out with the San Antonio Spurs. He had the quadriceps, the injuries, and he's never come back after that. He can't even play half the games, it seems. So I kind of feel bad for him. But I think while he achieved, a ring, I don't think he achieved the greatness that he was probably capable of. So I would have to say it's Leonard.
So I would say this though, because obviously he did the 2014 ring, but are you forgetting about the 2019 ring? He won with Toronto. Remember he went there
He
that
got
year.
2 rings?
Yeah, remember he won the ring with Toronto. Where that's the year that Klay
when he got
Thompson
the
tore
lucky
his.
shot,
Yeah.
when he just went in the
Against
previous
Philly,
round.
and then he went to the finals.
Yeah, but I still feel 2 rings. He could have been more dominant. That's what I said. It's all relative. Same with Curry, right? I mean, he's got the respect, but he deserves more. I think Leonard deserved more success, but he couldn't make it.
Right, so you're thinking more like just perennial every year being great on top, and he kind of just had those spurts.
Yeah.
2014, 2019, 2013. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, him and Paul George can't stay healthy. So I don't know if you watch the Clippers. I mean, but they have usually good runs, and then somebody gets hurt. Kawhi's ACL, Paul George's knee, shoulder. It sucks to see that. So yeah.
That's
That's gonna be it for the sports segment. So I thought we touched on some good topics, but now we're gonna go into esports. Okay, my type of sports. As a Twitch streamer. But okay, so I know that you have some questions too, so you can ask me. We can go back and forth. But I'll go ahead and start off with the esports segment. And basically, for anyone that's curious, since we've been talking about sports the last 30 minutes, Esports is basically imagine sports, but just add video games and then mix them together. You know what I mean? That's basically what it is. So instead of playing soccer, you're playing FIFA. Instead of playing football, you're playing Madden. Or you have your Rocket Leagues, you have your Call of Duties, whatever the case. It's all video game oriented. And so that's for anyone that might not know what esports is. It's not really a physical sport, but it still involves a great amount of skill, and there's still a lot of the same dynamics that you see in regular sports that apply to esports. Would you agree? I know you're more familiar with esports now, but
I agree. I mean, certainly it requires a lot of mental focus and also physical strength. I mean, you have stamina. You have to be there on hours. It is a sport.
yeah,
But I have a question for you.
right.
Since you've been playing in this industry for a while now, when COVID happened, esports got a big boost. Everybody was online.
Yeah.
Do you think esports has sort of will plateau at some point, or where do you see the future of esports?
No, I don't think there is a plateau for esports. It has one of the youngest demographics, which means that as we're getting older, it's only going to keep going up, right? So you want to have a young demographic like that. That's amazing to have when you're trying to grow this industry. Also, something that's pretty crazy. It's not exactly esports, but gaming industry. The gaming industry is at an insane evaluation right now. I read somewhere that it's like close to 300 billion by 2027, and it's also, and we're not talking esports, we're talking just gaming, but esports falls under that subset of gaming, and so the gaming industry itself is going to shatter the music and movie industry combined. So no, I don't think there's any plateau. I think, man, I'm excited to see what's happening in gaming. Yeah, I'm really excited. I don't even know. In 5 years, like I'm just trying to like imagine what's going to happen, the different collaborations. As you know, we have a lot of the non-endemic brands that are doing stuff with esports and gaming now. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but I mean,
No.
now,
What does that mean?
so I mean, basically not. So let's say you have an endemic brand that would be like Logitech working with
What's an endemic brand?
endemic brand means like pertaining to the industry. So let's say you have, right. So non-endemic would be like Coca-Cola working with a gaming company, but endemic could be like Logitech or your keyboard company working, right? So now you have all these non-endemic brands trying to get into the gaming esports industry. So that's where a lot of the money's coming from as well. I think that's really what's going to push esports to the next level. It's already become mainstream, but part of that, in my opinion, it's become mainstream in most of the world. But part of that is those non-endemic brands making the masses aware of esports. And so I'll give you examples. I mean, you're seeing collaborations. The number one nail polish company just did a collab with Xbox, and basically the way it worked is something that these people are doing is, let's say you buy the certain nail polish kit, you'll get an exclusive access to a certain game or certain content you can then redeem on Xbox, right? If that makes sense. Same with like, so I'll give you one more example. Same with like with Call of Duty, they have drinks sometimes. This is more of, you guess you could say, an endemic brand. It's an energy drink, like Monster energy drinks, and you buy one, you scratch off a code, and you can use the code to get bonus XP or bonus playtime in said video game. Another way that these brands are combining. You also have in Rocket League, they just combined with 7-Eleven, so now 7-Eleven's hosting one of their tournaments. I don't remember the exact tournament name. I think it's like something Slurpee, but basically 7-Eleven's letting Rocket League use their name. They're working together. Rocket League in return is letting 7-Eleven name one of their tournaments. They're one of their big tournaments. So that's kind of what's
Talking
going on
of
with
tournaments,
that. Yeah.
some time ago, I think we were discussing this universities having clubs and esports and being, I guess students being recruited to be on the esports teams. Whatever is happening there, are universities still big on esports and their clubs, and where is that going? University culture.
Yeah, so I mean, there's companies that organizations that are, what they're doing is basically recruiting schools to play together and have these like Madden tournaments, their FIFA tournaments, and they're trying to grow that way. But yeah, there are like, I guess there's certain companies that are focused on that. But what I'm more familiar with is the esports industry on like a grand scale. Recently, I've been like looking up a lot of different stuff on these different organizations, and I'm seeing like the money that's being invested into their companies, right? To keep growing their organizations. I'm talking about the top tier teams like the FaZe Clans, 100 Thieves, right? These are like the tier one organizations that they have teams that are competing on the highest level. So like for the $1 million tournaments, they have their Fortnite teams, their CS:GO teams, their Valorant teams, which actually reminds me. So are you familiar with the Gucci brand? I'm sure you've heard of Gucci, right?
Yeah.
So now you have Gucci doing stuff, and so basically what Gucci has done with a game called CS:GO, It's made by Riot Games, or sorry, no, CS:GO and Gucci had a collab for a gaming academy. So now Gucci's collabing with these, not even to make like a shirt or a bag. They're actually collabing to make a whole academy where they're going to be taking young people, like prodigy, I guess you could say gaming prodigies for that game, CSGO. It's like a first-person shooter game, and they're going to be able to actually kind of speed up the process of these people being able to hopefully play semi-pro or professionally or whatever the case, help them hone their skills. So you're seeing these brands that, and I never would have thought that Gucci would be working with esports, right? These unthinkable collabs are happening more and more frequently to the point where it's going to be normal now. You're going to see this happen a lot more. So I don't think esports or gaming is going to slow down anytime soon. I really think it's the future.
One more question before I guess you may want to jump on another topic, and that is, so you are, you stream on Twitch. You're a gamer yourself, and you do a lot of things. How does esports and this whole content creation or gaming, are they connected in some fashion? With Twitch and TikTok, do you see the same communities, or are there any synergies in all these different platforms? One is a gaming platform like Twitch, and then you have TikTok. But I think there is some. Some of the people the same, the creators? Is there any common I guess factors across these?
So real quick, are you asking from me as a viewer or me as a creator? What perspective are you asking from?
As a creator. So as a creator, right? Where do you see esports and content creation on TikTok? Do you create any content for a game and share it on TikTok? Is there any cross-platform pollination?
Right. So, yeah. I mean, unless you have other methods of growing your stream, usually the number one way to grow is to have to post on other platforms. Like if you're not on TikTok, if you're not on Instagram, if you're not on Twitter, social media in itself, you're just holding yourself back. And I've actually made a YouTube video on this years ago, maybe 2 years ago I made a video on this, but two of my biggest ways, and they still stay true to this day, are one, networking, right? Network with other streamers, and two is using your social medias to help see your content. What I've noticed a lot of the time, what happens is, let's say you have, so I have, for example, around 5,300 followers on Twitch, right? But not all 5,300 are in my chat every day. You know what I mean? People out doing stuff, they forget about Twitch, whatever. So even if you're trying to bring in new people, posting on social media actually helps retain those old viewers. Because let's say that they're living life and they're busy. They just came off a 10-hour shift. They're scrolling through their TikTok and they see your video. They say, oh, Zoe Burner, I remember him. Wonder what he's been up to. They go to Twitch, search you up. Hey, man, how's it been? Right? So that not only, a lot of people think, oh, that's only to get new people in the chat. No, when you're posting on social media, you're actually making people remember you, because not everyone's first thing to do is to log into Twitch and then look up their streamer or their favorite streamer or whatever. Like we all have other things to do. We have responsibilities. So posting on social media is, one more thing about that, posting on social media is also great because as a Twitch streamer myself, I only get those 4 hours a night to actually be producing content. But unfortunately, once I'm off, there's no stream, right? So it's dead space. But having that content, that offline content, is 24/7, because no matter if it's 5 a.m. or 5 p.m., people have access to that content, which is why like YouTube and TikTok, in my opinion, are so important. And that's what a lot of bigger creators, much bigger than me, will say, is always be posting on those 24/7 platforms, because the content will never die on there. Whereas Twitch, once you click end stream, there's nothing left.
No, thanks for that, because that really helps me, understand I always feel there's a connection between gaming, because that's a platform, and social media, and I think the millennials anyway. But I think that helps. Okay, that puts things in context. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, and I'm going to ask you one last esports question, okay?
Yeah.
I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. So recently there's been a trend, not really a trend, but I guess you could say you've seen it happen more often than in the past years, but a lot of esports players are coming out, even streamers, a lot of streamers I've seen recently, a lot of my friends too, they're taking a mental break from either content or competitive gaming or whatever the case, just due, they say, to stress or having numbers. It's Twitch is streaming in general is a very big up and down game. What do you think about that? Because obviously you're kind of looking at it from an outsider's view, in the perspective that you've never streamed on Twitch, you've never really made that type of content. So I just was curious what you think. Or you've never gamed competitively, right? So I want to see what your content is when you hear something like that. Like, oh, because some people, not you, but some people I know, their reaction is, well, they're playing video games. How could you be stressed about that, right? Or You're making
Right.
TikToks. How could you? What do you need to break from? That should be your break. It's fun. So I want to know what's your opinion about that?
So can I step back a little bit because I
Sure.
think this there's a larger issue here than just this affecting the gamers or if you look at and I'm going to give you a perspective from somebody who has kind of been in a different era also, right?
Yeah.
So I think if you look at what has happened in the last 20-25 years, mental health is now more of an accepted illness. People accept that there can be these issues because 25 years ago you couldn't talk of mental health in the way we normally talk. I mean, a sports person is supposed to be not have any mental weaknesses,
Yeah.
or for that matter, right? So people,
Right.
you do not talk about it. So but now if you look at it, not just e-gaming, we'll come to that, but if you look at basketball, recently Brittany Griner has taken a mental health break. I don't know if you saw that or not, right?
Yeah.
Then in tennis, Naomi Osaka took a break a few
Yeah.
months ago, even before her kid, mental break when she had some problems in the French Open.
Seen that.
So I
Yeah.
think, I think people were always stressed, but today people are willing to accept, hey, and not afraid to say, hey, I need some rest because I'm kind of stressed out.
So
So I think the problem is not just limited to you in the streaming world, but it's people are more open to it and not afraid to voice the fact that, hey, I'm having some mental problems.
right,
I
but
need a break.
right, but so the thing is though, do you think that this generation just becomes softer though, in terms of just like and the way I see it, just because obviously I'm looking at from my generation, but I'm also seeing the younger kids. Or as I'm getting older, I'm seeing the younger upcoming 13, 14-year-olds, and to me, it does seem in certain ways that as each generation evolves and we get the new younger kids, it's almost like we just expect things to just kind of be handed to us, or not only even that, but just we're more, I guess you could say, spoiled, or I guess just kind of not willing to always put in the hard work. You see a lot of people are always trying to find the easy way out. I don't know. To me, it almost seems, and tell me if I'm wrong, but like we are in a way becoming a little bit softer. What do you
I'm going
think?
to take the fifth on that, so
No,
we'll
you don't
move
want to
on.
say that? Okay. I
No
mean,
comments.
I keep it open, because I want to have an honest view. So that's why, I'm not here to just be like, oh yeah, we've always been like this. I think that yes, mental health is becoming more aware, which is great. And mental health is real. Don't get that twisted.
Yeah.
It is real. Depression, all these things are real. Not everyone goes through it. So it might not be easy for person A to understand person B's thoughts, right? Or what's going through their head, because not everyone's going to go have certain things. Some people have, they're bipolar, whatever the case. You don't know what someone's going
And I
through.
believe in your streams you have helped people have their conversation on mental health, correct? When some couple of people have reached out to you before, so I
Yeah,
know that.
yeah. I mean, publicly or privately, I've always tried to help my viewers because I care about them, and I want them to know that sometimes the best thing to do is let somebody know that you care for them, because sometimes it feels like nobody cares for you. Everyone's felt that at some point. So sometimes just hearing somebody else tell you that can go a long way. And yeah, of course, I care about every single person that's coming to my chat, because it's like a little mini family I have. That's how I look at it. But okay, so interesting take. I'm gonna have to get a better answer than plead the fifth, I guess, after the podcast from you on that. But okay, so look, we are currently 42 minutes in for this podcast. The last podcast was only 20 minutes. So what we're gonna do is, if you're down, we're gonna end with some this or that, or yay or nay. Are you for this episode? Are you good with that?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. Because don't get me wrong, I'm having a great time, but at the same time, I don't know how long this video is going to take to process on
I know,
YouTube.
we gotta-
So
yeah.
we gotta, mom and I took 20 minutes, and I thought that was a pretty lengthy episode. So, but it's been a great topic so far. So, all right. So basically, I'm gonna play that. I played this with mom last time. It's a fun little segment, nothing hard. And you haven't seen these questions, so this will be fun. I'm gonna ask you this or that. You pick one as fast as you can. Then we're gonna play yay or nay, where I'm gonna ask you. For example, do you like movies? You say yay, yes, nay, no. Okay? Sound good? All right. So right now we're playing this or that. Cricket or tennis?
Tennis.
Italian or Chinese food?
Chinese.
Drake or Kanye?
Drake.
Drake, okay.
Call
And
me on my cell phone.
that's crazy. All right. And then dressing up fancy or casual clothes?
Casual clothes.
Really? I was going to say I'm looking a little fancy today, but okay.
What about you?
For those questions,
Yeah.
I'll probably go tennis. Ooh, Chinese food. Love me some orange chicken. Drake, Six God the Goat, And even though I'm wearing this is for the podcast. If you know me in person, I'm a straight t-shirt and gym shorts.
So we
That's
are four
that's
or
my
four.
attire. Yeah, no, yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
You know what they say, like father, like son. So
like father, like son. Yeah. Okay, let's see if this is the same for this. We're gonna play yay or nay now. Are you ready?
yeah,
All right. Pineapple on pizza.
yes,
So
yeah,
yay. So yeah, yay or nay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Pineapple on pizza. Yay. Horror movies.
nay,
Tattoos.
nay,
Yeah, I
nay,
know. I figured that. Spicy food.
nay,
No spicy. Social media.
nay,
Really? Okay. Coffee.
yeah.
What's your favorite coffee drink, or from where? What's your order at your favorite
Starbucks,
place? Starbucks. What's your order?
medium cappuccino, extra hot.
Okay. And public speaking, yay or nay?
Yeah.
Yay. Okay, you like public speaking? Nice. All right. Cool. So that is pretty much all the questions I have for you. You have anything else for me?
Yeah, take two of those questions and answer them. Any two.
Oh, two of the questions.
Any
Okay.
two. Your favorite.
I'll just okay. I'll do. Let's just do
Or do all
pineapple
of
on
them.
pizza. I'll do two of them. Pineapple on pizza, yes.
Yeah, I know.
And let's go with horror movies. I'm gonna say nay. But here's the thing, though. When I watch one, I usually end up enjoying it. It's just I have to build up the courage to actually watch it because I get scared with those jump
And you
scares.
watch
That's
it
what
like
gets me.
this, with
Yeah,
your eyes
exactly,
closed?
like this. The thing that gets me is, as you know, I talked with mom about this. Bulbalaya movies like that are like the jump scares, and I don't know. I think I just watched too many movies I shouldn't have as a kid, so now it's like I'm just like the PTSD just comes back, and I'm just like I can't do it. But yeah, so okay. With that being said, this was episode 2 of the ZB Pod. Dad, thanks again for coming on. I thought it was a great episode.
You're very welcome, and thank you for having me. Thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. Hope your audience likes it.
Yeah, and I actually want to say this to end things. I think definitely gonna have you back on the podcast if you'd be down. I definitely want to get into talking about AI because we could do a whole episode about that, right? AI. You work with AI, you're working with that, and I'm also using AI in a lot of things that I'm doing now, and I'm going to be continuing to do it in the future. So I think definitely we'll do that. If you guys have any questions for us for a future pod or just any questions in general, man, feel free to leave them down below. Thank you guys for all the kind words on episode 1. Hopefully you guys will enjoy this episode too. We had a much longer episode, great topics, and we'll see you guys on episode 3. Peace out.
Bye. Peace out.